used to think that maybe if I ran fast enough, or jumped high enough, or did something loud enough, my parents would notice me. But the truth was, they only had eyes for her. Samantha. My older sister. Straight A's, piano recitals, debate trophies, scholarships, perfect hair, perfect smile, perfect everything. I'm Nathan. Be average. Not great at sports, not great at much. Dinner was always the same. Dad asking Sam about her latest test score, Mom gushing about her college prospects. Did you see? Samantha's essay got published? Sam just aced her calculus final. I wanted to shout, I got a B+ in history. I fixed the garage door. I exist, but the words never came out. One Thursday, everything changed. I had stayed late after school to redo a project. Walking through the empty hall, I heard voices coming from the library. I peeked around the corner. It was Sam, with her friend Grace. Grace was waving a flash drive. You sure you want me to keep doing this? If someone finds out. Sam looked around nervously. I can't stop now. I'm applying to Ivy League schools. If my grades slip, my heart started pounding. I pressed closer. I'm paying you for the answers, aren't I? Just make sure they match the test format. I stumbled back, knocking into a cart. They didn't see me. I ran all the way home, my mind spinning. Sam? Cheating? The perfect daughter? That night, I couldn't sleep. The next day, I watched her across the breakfast table, smiling like nothing was wrong. Mom kissed her on the cheek. Dad beamed. And I thought, they don't even know who she really is. I wrestled with it for days. I could tell them. I could finally be the one who mattered, the one who brought the truth. When I finally did it, my voice shook. Mom. Dad. Sam's cheating. I heard her. I know. At first, they didn't believe me. Then they stormed into her room. There were tears, yelling, Sam screaming that I was lying. But they found the flash drive. The messages on her phone. Proof. She was grounded. Her scholarship applications were put on hold. The school was notified. Everything crashed around her. For the first time, my parents looked at me, but I didn't feel proud. Later that night, she came into my room, her face pale and blotchy. Why did you do it? She whispered. I begged you not to. You ruined everything. I opened my mouth, but no words came. She left. The door clicked shut. Weeks passed. The house was quieter. Sam barely spoke to anyone. She stopped playing piano. Her friends stopped coming around.
It started with the bruises, small ones, at first, on Mom's arms, sometimes her wrist. She always had an explanation. I bumped into the cabinet. I slipped on the back steps. I'm just clumsy, sweetheart. I wanted to believe her, but the way she smiled, tight-lipped and watery-eyed, didn't feel like Mom. Then I started noticing how quiet she was when Dad was around, how she flinched when he raised his voice, even just at the news on TV. I told myself I was imagining things, that I didn't understand grown-up problems, that families fight, but that changed on a Tuesday. I was walking home from school because I'd missed the bus. I was 2 blocks away when I heard it, raised voices echoing from our open window. My heart started to beat faster, then came the crash. The sharp, sick sound of glass shattering. I ran. When I burst through the door, the living room was a mess. The coffee table was overturned, picture frames broken. Mom was crouched by the wall, one hand over her cheek. Dad turned to me. His face was red, breathing heavy. Your mother fell, he said quickly. The stairs, you know how she is. Mom didn't say anything. She didn't look at me, just held her face like it was on fire. Something in me broke then. No, I said. My voice was shaking. No, she didn't. His eyes locked onto mine, cold, hard. Don't speak to me like that. I turned and went upstairs. I locked my door and I called the police. I don't even remember what I said. I just kept repeating, he's hurting her. Please come, please. They came fast. Too fast for Dad to prepare. When they walked him out of the house in handcuffs, he didn't look scared. He looked furious. You don't know what you've done, he shouted at me. I'm your father. I stood by the door, frozen. You've ruined this family, he yelled. You'll regret this. The officers told him to be quiet, pushed him into the car. When the door closed behind him, the house was silent. I turned to Mom. She was crying, her face streaked with makeup and pain. Why did you do that? She whispered. Things were going to get better. I didn't answer. I just sat down beside her and held her hand. That night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling. His words echoed in my head. You'll regret this. I thought maybe I had ruined everything. That maybe families were supposed to keep secrets. That maybe I'd betrayed someone who raised me. But then I thought about Mom's bruises, the fear in her eyes, the lie about the stairs. And I realized something. I hadn't ruined anything. He did. All I did was say the truth out loud. For once, someone had listened. For once, someone saw her pain. And for the first time in a long time, I felt proud. Not because it was easy, but because it was right. The house is quieter now. Some days Mom barely talks. Some days she thanks me without saying anything at all. Just a hand on my back, a longer hug. But the bruises are fading, and so is the fear. The call came at 2:17 a.m. Not the kind you expect. Not a crash, not a hospital, just a whisper over the phone from a neighbor. Mr. Daniels across the street. Tom, I hate to do this, but I saw your boy down by the old mill. He wasn't alone. Something looked off. I didn't sleep after that. Just sat at the kitchen table with my coffee going cold and the old clock ticking like a slow, deliberate countdown. My son, Aaron, had always been sharp. Charming. Too sharp, maybe. Lately, I'd noticed changes. Late nights, excuses, new friends with eyes that didn't match their smiles. But I'd written it off. Stress. Teen rebellion. Hell, maybe even a girl. But when I followed him the next night, quietly, careful not to be seen, I watched him hand off a plastic bag to a twitchy kid in a car with out-of-state plates. Aaron pocketed a wad of cash, then walked away like he was just taking out the trash. I wanted to vomit. I didn't confront him that night. I drove home, parked 2 blocks away so he wouldn't suspect I'd followed him, then sat in the dark of the living room, waiting for his footsteps on the stairs. They came at 2:41 a.m. Soft, guilty. He didn't see me, didn't know I knew. Over eggs, he smiled at me like nothing was wrong, asked if he could borrow the car, said he had plans with Jason. I nodded, said sure. And then I went into the garage, sat in the driver's seat, and screamed into the steering wheel like a man cracking down the middle. I'm not a perfect father. Lord knows I've made my mistakes. But I believed in raising a son with a spine, a sense of right and wrong. And now I had to face the reality that the boy upstairs was feeding poison into someone else's kid. Maybe into 10 someone's. 100. I waited 2 more days. Spied on him. Watched him make 2 more deals. I recorded one. I took photos. Then I made the hardest call of my life. The cop on the other end paused when I said, I want to report my son. There was paperwork, a detective came, questions, and I gave them everything. All of it. The next night, they picked him up in front of our house. Sirens off, but lights still flashing blue across the lawn like a funeral procession. He didn't fight, just looked at me. Dad? He said when he realized I was the one who opened the door. I didn't speak. Couldn't. The look in his eyes was part fear, part betrayal, like I'd driven the knife in his back myself. I watched them put him in the car. My wife came out screaming when she realized what was happening. She didn't speak to me for weeks. The papers printed his name. Minor, but still. The whole town whispered. And me, I sat in that same kitchen chair every night, the same one where I'd once taught him how to tie a tie, and I wondered if I'd done the right thing. Wondered if justice and love could ever live in the same house. When he finally called from jail, his voice was hollow. You didn't even talk to me. You were selling fentanyl, Aaron. Silence. Then, I was in too deep. I didn't know how to stop. My hand shook around the receiver. I stopped it for you. And maybe, just maybe, that's what fatherhood is sometimes. Not saving them from the consequences, but loving them enough to let them crash. And praying they climb out better. I'll visit him again this weekend. I always do. Not because I forgive him yet, but because I need him to forgive me. I didn't wake up one morning and decide to be a criminal. It started slower than that. At Jefferson High, there were groups. You know the kind. The athletes, the overachievers, the kids who sat alone, and then there were them. They weren't just the bad kids. They had a kind of gravity. The way they moved through the halls, the way people made space for them. No teachers messed with them unless they had to. They weren't loud. They were dangerous in the quiet way. At first, I just sat near them in the cafeteria. Then I started skipping last period with them. Then they started calling me by name. Jason was the first one to hand me something. Just a little bag, nothing heavy. Just give it to Kevin during chem. He knows what to do. I did it. No questions. No money. Just the thrill of being part of something. A week later, I got paid. It kept going like that. Little by little, I was in. First, I was just delivering. Then I was holding on to stuff. Then I was selling. It felt powerful, like I mattered, like people noticed me for once. No one ever said out loud what we were doing, but we all knew. Weed, pills, sometimes worse, mostly to kids who were just curious, some who were desperate. One day I looked in the mirror and didn't recognize myself. My eyes were sharper, my mouth tighter. I'd stopped talking to my old friends. My grades were slipping, but I kept telling myself, I'm just playing the game. I'm not like them. Until the day I saw Mark, one of the group, crying in the alley behind the gym. I asked what happened. My brother OD'd last night, he said. Off stuff I helped move. That hit me hard. These guys weren't made of stone. They were kids like me, angry, tired, trying to matter. I started to feel it, the weight. I told Jason I was done. He laughed at first. You don't just leave, man. But I did. And then I went to the principal. I didn't give just names. I gave routes, patterns, locker numbers. 3 days later, the school swarmed with cops. Lockers opened, backpacks checked. Jason, Mark, all of them handcuffed. Some of them cried. Some looked straight at me. Jason didn't say a word, just stared. Not angry, not sad, just hollow. The school whispered about it for weeks. Some kids called me a snitch. Others thanked me. But I couldn't stop thinking about Mark, about how scared he looked. About how we all ended up in that group because we didn't know where else to go. I got to stay. They didn't. And now even after it's over, I still wonder, did I do the right thing? I stopped something that was hurting people. But I also turned on the only people who ever let me in. People like me. I tell myself I had no choice, that they were already falling, but at night I still hear Jason's voice in my head. You don't just leave. And sometimes I think, maybe none of us ever really did. I knew something was wrong before I even hit the water. My chest had that familiar hollow tightness. Not the kind from nerves or pushing hard. This was different, deeper. I clutched my inhaler in my hand, standing on the pool deck, trying to make eye contact with Coach Martin. Coach, can I use this real quick? My chest feels off. He didn't even look up from his clipboard. You've got to stop relying on that thing so much. You're fine. Just warm up, then we'll talk. I hesitated. I can feel it. You're not going to build endurance if you give up every time your lungs get uncomfortable. It wasn't discomfort. It was asthma. But he made it sound like weakness. And I hated being the weak one. So I nodded, slipped the inhaler into my locker, and got in the water. The first lap was okay, sort of. I was aware of every breath I took, and none of them felt deep enough. By the second lap, it felt like I was breathing through a straw. My strokes got slower, and when I surfaced, my lungs screamed for air that didn't seem to reach the bottom. I looked up. Coach Martin stared right at me. Keep going, he shouted. Don't quit on me now. 2 more laps, I told myself. I'd done worse, but halfway through the next, my arms started tingling. I kicked, tried to push forward, but the water felt thick, like molasses. My vision tunneled. The surface above me stretched farther away with every stroke. I think I tried to call out, I'm not sure. Everything got quiet and bright, and then dark. When I woke up, the first thing I felt was the cold tile under my cheek, then the burning in my throat. I coughed hard, choking on water and air at the same time. She's breathing, someone said. I turned my head. Faces hovered above me. Teammates, a lifeguard, a paramedic. I saw my friend Lily sprinting in with my inhaler. I grabbed it with shaking hands and took 2 desperate puffs. Someone helped me sit up. I looked past the crowd and saw Coach Martin, standing frozen at the edge of the pool. He wasn't shouting anymore. Later, in the hospital, my mom sat next to me, gripping my hand like I was going to disappear again. "You could have died, Ava," she whispered, eyes red. "He wouldn't let me use it," I said. "I asked him before warm-ups. He told me to breathe through it." The room got very still. Even the nurse, adjusting my oxygen, looked up. The school launched an investigation. Other swimmers came forward, quietly. About injuries ignored, pain pushed aside in the name of toughness. Coach Martin resigned. I didn't swim competitively for a while after that. I was scared of the water in a way I never had been before. But one quiet morning I went back. I slipped into the pool with no stopwatch ticking, no voice shouting at me from above. Just me, the water, and my inhaler, safely waiting on the edge. For the first time in weeks, I floated, and I breathed.